It became Amazon's #1 bestseller. There's a mathematical formula to it. It has worked extremely well for me. That's the mission that I am on.
Welcome, Rohan.
Thank you so much.
Rohan Chaubey. Chaubey is the correct way to pronounce? Okay, so Rohan Chaubey, India's most followed growth hacker, is here at ThinkVID. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much.
You are such a soft-spoken person. It's unbelievable. Actually, all of the YouTubers are so kind and their voice is like so peaceful, but they have this huge amount of following and you know they have a big presence online. Then you meet them and they are such humble beings. So thank you so much for being here. So firstly, Rohan, I would want to give you the opportunity to please introduce yourself. How do you want people to know you?
So audience.com, that is Twitter and IBM's partner product, ranked me as India's most followed growth hacker. Last year, I launched a book called The Growth Hacking Book. It became Amazon's #1 bestseller. In the book, we had about 35 people from 9 different countries. Then now, this year, we are launching the second edition of the book with about 150 startup leaders. And we are trying to create a world record, that a business book with so many authors. Apart from this, I've been working with US-based companies and startups to, you know, gain their first 100K, 100, 1,000, 10,000 or 100K users or customers, and also followers. And now, recently, I've also started to gain interest in the Indian startup ecosystem.
That's amazing, because I love the Indian startup scene. I love the Indian business scene. That's why I came to India. Actually, it's highly underestimated by the global economy.
Yes.
The amount of opportunities and potential that India has, and how many things can be done here. And the time is also perfect. I think India's economy is in a transition. Young people, the generation gap between previous generation and now is huge. So the amount of things to be done and how many things people want. The demand is there, the opportunities are there.
Yes.
So yeah. So you mentioned the word growth hacking. Can you please tell us what is growth hacking?
Sure. So I'm not very religious of my own definition. I encourage everyone to have their own definitions of growth hacking, but I'll share mine. So for me, growth hacking is conducting marketing experiments to uncover strategies that you can use to acquire and retain users and customers for your company or startup using data. So largely, when you talk about marketing, I don't see a lot of people. I mean, it's very intuition driven. With growth hackers, the thing is that we are very data driven, and that's what differentiates us from digital marketers and growth hackers.
Okay. That's interesting, and it's interesting how there is a huge potential to overlap these things. So I want to know, how did you start and when did you start to have interest in growth hacking? Because it's a very specific, I would say, niche that you found. So when and how did this happen?
So when I was 16, I was playing on a site that was a simulation of Big Brother. So they were like real people on the community, all American kids. I was the only Indian to play there, and I won that game. And there was an option to blog. And then I Google searched what is blogging, and that's how I discovered that, you know, you can be a professional blogger. I started blogging, and then I was approached by Huffington Post. It is one of the major media outlets in the US. I got a column there, and then from there, a US-based company spotted me and offered to, you know, work with them as a content marketer and their PR manager.
Okay.
And then from there, I realized that the founder of the company called himself a growth hacker. So instead of directly asking him what he does, I Google searched again, seeing, you know, what growth hacking is, and then I realized that it is a concept that, you know, they developed in the Silicon Valley. The guy named Sean Ellis was the founder. He coined the term growth hacking. And then in my own book, I have my own thought leadership about growth hacking. I coined the term growth set. which essentially is there's a mathematical formula to it. Growth set equals mindset, tool set, and skill sets that you use to become a growth hacker. So that's how it became. I think this was in the year 2009. No, sorry, when I was 19 years old. So this would be 2016.
Okay. Wow, that's not so long ago, and you made it really far. So when you started, what was your goals when you started to produce content related to that?
So my experience while working with these US-based startups and Silicon Valley startups was so much different when I speak to Indian startups, and I realized that there was a gap. How we approach startup growth here in India is so much different than how we approach in the Silicon Valley, and I wanted to bring in those concepts here, and of course have my own thought leadership on how things should be and how we can make Indian startup ecosystem more sophisticated and more data driven, and that's the mission that I am on.
That's amazing. So when you said that, but you're still in India.
Yes.
You're still in India,
Yes.
Yet you mentioned many times, this was developed in Silicon Valley.
Yes.
You work with US companies. What is your motivation in targeting particularly the Indian market with growth hacking?
So I realized that there is a lack of there's a gap in knowledge. So the first thing that I'm trying to do is to educate people, make them aware of there is something like growth hacking. Out of all the people I speak to, 75% of the times they wouldn't get what growth hacking is. Maybe they heard of the term, but they are not sure exactly what it is. So that education comes from the books that we do, the videos that we make, the social media content that we do, the blogs that we write. So once we create enough information, if we produce enough information for startups to know, so by doing events like ThinkVID, eventually there would be a time that they would adopt the methodology that we have here and the framework that we have created.
Okay, nice. So my next question is, so again back to the title that you have, which is India's most followed growth hacker. You are not present on YouTube. You used Twitter.
Yes.
Why did you choose Twitter?
So I am actually omnipresent. I do have a YouTube channel, but that is fairly new platform for me. The platforms that I'm majorly active on is Twitter. It has worked extremely well for me. I had a SaaS product, a software product related to Twitter, and we were managing accounts of brands like Uber, Kalyan Jewellers, UNESCO, the Ministry of Women and Child Development, Government of India. So a lot of so we had about 1,200 Twitter accounts that we were managing of all brands, celebrities, influencers through this platform. And because I cracked the code of what it takes to be popular on Twitter. So on my personal profile, I have about 80,000 followers, but then the cumulative would be somewhere around 150,000 through these other secondary accounts that we have. And then we have these other influencers that we manage. So my dominant platform would be Twitter, but I'm also fairly active on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn post have got 330,000 views just on a single
LinkedIn is definitely something that is highly
B2B.
And it's highly underestimated as well. And many people don't want to admit that LinkedIn is a platform that they should use in order to.
And now that videos have become so popular on YouTube, on LinkedIn, I'm seeing tremendous growth in the video consumption on LinkedIn.
Perfect. What is your goal when you? Maybe it was different when you started, but right now, what is your main mission with what you do?
Like I shared with you, I'm on a mission where I want to make our ecosystem more sophisticated. In the sense, when I say that, is here's what I mean. So if in my company, in my startup, if there is a developer, I want developer to not just we will share the features of the product with you, but then your job is not just to develop the product. You also have to come back to us and say what other features can we incorporate so that it helps us gain users. So let's say, for example, if you were a developer working at Facebook, WhatsApp, in let's say as a developer, I would come to you and suggest that, on WhatsApp, let's have a referral system. If I'm on WhatsApp, my friend is not on WhatsApp, there should be a feature for me to invite my friend. So these features the product level features and growth levers can be suggested by developers because they come from a technical background. So let's say if I have a designer, a graphic designer in my team, their job is not just to design graphics, but also tell us that what is the best way to put our messaging, our brand theme through our graphics. So what I'm trying to suggest is everyone on the team. So currently the startup ecosystem has this, the startup teams have this fragmented squads or teams or departments where someone does marketing, the other team does sales, some other team would do customer support. I want all of them to come together as a growth team and not fragmented departments. So that's the mission I'm on. I want every single startup in India to adopt the growth framework that we have, adopt the idea of having a growth team which is not fragmented, which is working together towards growth. Everyone on the team cares about the growth of the company, the product, or whatever we are trying to do together, even if it's a service. So that's the mission I'm on, to convert everyone into thinking in terms of growth.
That's amazing. So I want to know, when you published the book, was it before or after you started to become present on the social media? I'm talking now about LinkedIn and Twitter because I
actually
platform.
grew on the internet. So when people ask me how long you have been here, I tell them that I grew up on the internet because I've always been here. So I've been on the
This is
internet.
just 16, right?
Yes,
I mean, this is
and now I am 23.
And I'm only 23. So this is also it's amazing.
But
how
I've been
much you
professionally doing this for about 4 years now.
Yes.
And before that, I was in this. I was just exploring what is blogging and learning things. So yeah.
Awesome. No, I think, you're 23 and you achieved so much. There's so much more to come. Is there something, what's your plan for 2020? Do you have any specific plan that you lined up?
I want to, so like I shared with you, I want to scale the movement that I've launched. I'm doing the second edition of the book, the Growth Hacking book, having 150 people from 20 countries. Yes. And then again, we would definitely make it a bestseller for sure. But with that, I'm also trying to create a world record. So the idea is to create enough buzz so that we are able to reach to maximum people and they benefit out of the ideas that we are about to share.
I'm really intrigued to learn more, especially because I myself was never a fan of Twitter. It was very difficult for me to comprehend how one can grow on Twitter. It did not work for me, but obviously it did not work for me because I did not use the right techniques and maybe I did not put enough effort, right? But Twitter and LinkedIn. I follow Gary Vee. Okay, you are familiar with Gary Vee.
Yes.
So I follow him since the last, I think, 3 years, and I started following him when he started 3 years ago on YouTube, beginning, beginning, and I saw how he became a complete persona.
Now that you mentioned Gary Vee, I have to share this with you. So he was very active on Twitter.
Exactly.
And that's where I found him, and there was a time, now he's grown very huge, but there was a time that he used to reply to my tweets. So on Twitter, I've connected with so many influential people now that we see have huge following, but I've seen so many people like just starting from that platform, and now of course they have become omnipresent because that's the need.
But Gary Vee is aggressive. How much content he pushes out in one day, it's crazy. And then I was watching when he started his Gary Vee vlog Q&As. Daily Vee, yes. So he started on YouTube. He was not on Facebook before. And so on YouTube, I still remember when he had like around 1,000 views only, and I was watching him, and now he invites
he has blown up.
Beyonce, big celebrities to his channel. So it's definitely possible, and he's showing it. You are also basically, I would say, there's a big age difference, but I believe that there's a huge probability that you would be the next Gary Vee in India.
Thank you so much.
I'm not comparing two personalities, but in terms of what he is teaching and how he's aggressively putting it out and putting people on the right way in terms of their content management, I think I can totally see you in it. And I'm really happy for your second book. Looking forward to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.